Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mark, also known as the Wii Nintendo Game Boy. How's everybody doing? I know it's been a while since I've uploaded a video, huh? I've kept my activity on Game Boy TV to just liking and putting videos into playlists these past two and a half weeks. So we're almost 3 weeks into the new year, and it's only now that I'm uploading my first video of 2016. But don't worry, folks, it's only temporary. By February, I should be able to start uploading more gaming and music videos. Anyway, in this video, I will actually explain why I've been less active on my YouTube channel. And I'll start off by giving a brief overview, and then I will go into storytelling mode. So how's that? You good? All right. So over the last almost 3 weeks, I've been at school attending 9 to 12 hour rehearsals for a musical that the theater department at my school is putting on later this month. Actually, right now it's the 19th. Our opening night is on the 22nd. So this coming Friday. It's a show called Dogfight. So for those of you who are familiar with my channel, you know that I play piano, and so I will be a member of that pit playing the piano part for this musical. It's historic in my life because this is the first musical that I will ever partake, and it's also a huge learning experience for me, and I see it as sort of like a rite of passage into the world of musical theater. So I regard myself as a classically trained musician. I know all the major and minor scales. I've learned how to sight read and speed through the Hanon book and Czerny. I've also practiced out of the well-known John Thompson books. I also consider myself to be a band geek, just because throughout high school I was part of concert and jazz bands. Um, but in between, I would also jam out to contemporary music and video game music as well. But I never associated myself with musical theater and musicals in general. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not completely oblivious to it. I've watched the high school production of Guys and Dolls and Mamma Mia in Las Vegas, but that's about it. There are even that some guilty pleasures that are musical theater pieces, such as For Good and I'm Not That Girl from Wicked. Um, two of those videos I have two of those I have actually have piano covers on my channel. But I never really took interest in musicals and musical theater, no matter how much I tried to be open-minded. However, I managed to get along very well with some of the theater majors over at college um, over these last 4 years. They got to know me through my solo performances at recitals or cabaret nights. That's when I sort of kind of started to take interest in the world of musical theater. My curiosity grew as my relationship with theater people grew. By the time I was in my third year, I actually started to um, help out some of the theater majors with their pieces, and teaching them how their pitches and accompanying them to the best of my ability. Um, though the occurrences, were a few and far between. So to the point about accompanying, that's where it all began. In terms of the work that I'm doing now with this musical. It was late September last year, and one day one of my theater major friends came up to me all of a sudden and they asked me, "Hey, we're having auditions for this musical called Dogfight, and we're looking for someone to accompany pieces for the audition." So my thought was, well, I don't know. I'm barely a novice at theater music. But another side told me, don't turn this down, Mark. It's a good opportunity for you to expand your musical horizons. I had to think quickly, but wisely too. But I said, sure, it's a good opportunity to perform and make new connections. And looking back now, I know I made the right decision. You see, folks, my degree that I'm working up to is called a BM in music performance. BM meaning a Bachelor of Music, with an emphasis in pedagogy. Pedagogy meaning private studio teaching. And I had to carefully consider when I was offered this why I'm working, what I'm working to achieve this degree. And by turning down a performance opportunity like this would contradict everything about what being a performer is all about, what the degree entails, pretty much. Um, Even though I'm taking a huge risk, I had to trust my gut that the rewards are going to be the best thing out of all the hard work. But it wasn't all smooth sailing, you know. Of course, with everything that is new, you're not you shouldn't ever guarantee 100% accuracy. But I was worrying that I was going to flunk big time, especially when I have to play music for musicals that I've never even heard of. So that's when I dug up my Wicked and Mamma Mia books, and just practiced sight reading over and over, and sort of like got a feel for the you know the different style from theater music versus classical music. I also bought a kids musical theater book from Hal Leonard, and I began playing that as well, just to get familiar with well-known pieces before going after more obscure ones. But I think the main problem was much more deeper than the piece itself. And it was that I had a mindset that upon getting the piece for the first time, that every note needs to be accurate and every rhythm needs to be there, you know, on the day of the auditions. As classically trained musicians, we are the worst. I don't know like how accurate it is, but in my view, uh, it's I'm the worst when it comes to accepting that we can't be always 100%. We're trained to read every single note, articulation, and dynamic on paper and expect to show it in a performance memorized. So naturally, the classical instincts kicked in. Basically, I became paranoid about making mistakes and screwing up the singer. I felt like the whole audition hinged on me nailing the rhythm and the notes. So I seeked help from one of my music major classmates who was also part of the crew for Dogfight, as well as a fellow pianist who also does musical theater, who's done it far longer than I have. I learned from them that yes, it's going to be a challenge to sight read many pieces in a short time frame. But the trick with theater music is knowing which notes are important to keep and which ones to throw away. But both reassured me that everything will be fine and that I should think more about the singer rather than thinking about getting the notes right. Even even if I have to follow a simple chord progression, like lead sheet style, the 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 least that I can do is just keep the beat steady. So then, in a way, it's kind of like playing contemporary pop music or jazz music, which I've done several times, but with different twists and turns. And obviously musical theater being a different dynamic than even contemporary pop music and jazz music. Knowing that helped me put my fears aside about the auditions. It also helped me muster up some confidence. So it was the audition day came, and it spanned over the course of 2 days, with both nights going from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. The auditions had two main criteria: speaking and singing. For the speaking part, it's a snippet of the actual dialogue from the musical, um, between a male and a female character. So, sometimes females will read the female part and the males would want to read the male part. Sometimes, they'll switch it up a little bit. For the singing part, one has to prepare two pieces from two different eras of musical theater. Some pieces were vaguely familiar, particularly like Les Mis and Phantom of the Opera. I'm not too familiar with those musicals, even though I've heard of them. I mean, who hasn't heard of those two musicals? But some were just out of this world, and for me, and honestly, throughout the whole 3 hours, I had such a rush of adrenaline that I didn't know how the heck I was able to get through sight reading around 40 pieces by night's end. So 40 pieces one night and maybe another 30 to 40. So in those 2 days, I sight read 70, at least 70 pieces. Um, so during the auditions, we didn't have to go through the whole piece, and I also want to add that it's not the whole song. So even though it was 70 pieces, it had to be a 16 bar, 16 measure snippet of um, that piece of music. So sometimes we were able to get through it, and sometimes because we needed to get the auditions going, we only had I only had to like maybe read, I'd say, 8 measures, or even disregard the second piece at all. But anyway, the fortitude that I exuded during the auditions impressed the entire crew for Dogfight. That one day in October, the director came up to me and asked me to be a part of the show as the main pianist for the pit. Wow, I thought, that's like a job that unexpectedly fell from the sky right into my hands. That's how I saw it, just because I thought the auditions were one and done for me. But just like the audition offer, I accepted this position as I know that there will be some kind of benefit in the end for doing something like this. This kind of opportunity could not have come at a more, I'd say, appropriate time in my life because, I'm in my fourth year of college now, fourth year out of five. And it's like, whoa, I'm getting a taste of what it's like to be in this kind of profession on top of working a part-time job as a piano teacher. It's also funny that I happen to be 21 because you know how people like to perceive 21 as a historic year in their life. Um, but prior to turning 21, I've never been called up for something like this. So it's interesting that once I turned 21, it's like the floodgates opened. But I'm not complaining because if I'm needed, I I'll be able to step up to the challenge. No doubt about it. So throughout the month of November and December, I've been doing nothing but sight reading the piano vocal score, which has around 200 pages. It's right here. You can see it all in its glory. Um, and I've been listening to the soundtrack over and over. Since I'm the pianist for this musical, I'm also required to be at all vocal rehearsals and all the rehearsals leading up to the shows, like Tech Week and stuff. Some nights I've actually had to stay until 11 p.m. helping singers with their part, and also putting in more vamps or modifying any kind of safety or any kind of bar of music. So during the weekends, um, as well, I had to go to school for pit rehearsals. So vocal rehearsals during the week and then pit rehearsals during the weekend. So skipping ahead to this month, January, at this point, my confidence is soaring since now I'm able to get through all the songs in this musical. From what I learned in jazz ensemble and all the tips that I've gotten by my fellow peers, I was able to adapt my own style for the songs using a combination of both sight reading and block chording. We are currently in Tech Week, and last week we just completed the boot camp phase in which the entire cast and crew started to put choreography with the music, as well as putting together all the transitions, entrances, and exits. It can get overwhelming at times, especially for me as the rehearsal accompanist, and really for the entire cast and crew, because now I'm now spending 9 to 10 hours every day waiting and playing. I don't have time to watch Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune, playing Super Mario on my Wii U, watching Knicks games, and even focusing on my classical repertoire and spending time with family. But what's keeping me cool is the love and passion for the experience, and it will all come together on January 22nd, 23rd, and the 24th. So yeah, Dogfight, according to research I've done, it's a musical with music by Benj Pasek and Justin Paul, with the book by Peter Duchan or Duchan, and the original off-Broadway cast consists of Lindsay Mendez and Derek Klena as the two main roles of Rose and Birdlace, respectively. Isn't it funny? Pretty funny. That my first musical happens to have a high degree of difficulty. Well, according to at least according to the music director, he tells me that it's one of the hardest shows to ever perform. It's a rock musical anyway, so there's a lot of funky chord changes, syncopations, and cues. But overall, the experience has been nothing short of wonderful. So, I know I've been rambling on for a while now, but I just thought I would share this with you in case there's anyone who's out there who may have been offered a role playing music for a production and may not know what the experience is like, but also for people who are experienced in this field to also give advice to and tips for anyone who wants to work in as a pit musician. Um, with all of that being said, please comment in this video. I'd appreciate any kind of advice regarding regarding musical work. Anything important to keep in mind during rehearsals and performances, how to branch out, etc. Please, give me that kind of advice. Um, okay, so over the next few weeks, I'll elaborate further on my experiences, including uh, some behind the footage scenes. It's right now 3 days till opening night. It's definitely getting very tense over at the theater. So thanks everybody, and have a great day.